Hello. Welcome back to the podcast. I am your host. Welcome back, I should say, to the Civil Point. I am your host, Ariana Dieva, and we are back with a brand new episode of the Civil Point show right here. And we are diving into it today. We are going to talk more about the Epstein files. We're going to talk about how the Epstein files links to complete corruption in the United States government. As well, we are going to go ahead and talk about how Epstein files relates to Project 2025 and how Project 2025 relates to Donald Trump. Now, a lot of this is very, it's out there. It's information that is readily available. But at the same time, people are not really connecting the broader dots and the more specific dots that connect the corruption of the Epstein files and the protection of high pedo elites to what Project 2025 and how it was able to power through our government through Donald Trump. So we are going to go ahead and get into it today because it is all very insane how if you really look at the docs and the timeline, the receipts, everything adds up to how Donald Trump has sold America for his own personal freedom. And we are going to dive into it today. But before we dive into it, I wanted to talk about the No Kings protest. No Kings protest was super successful. There is nearly 7 million people who attended 2,500 protests across the country, as well as internationally. People are protesting on behalf of America. And I just want to say, I think this is the most American thing that Americans can do is protest against a wannabe tyrannical dictator, king, monarch in Condon. Condon was very unhappy about how many people came out in support of being against him because he thinks he's beloved and loved by everyone. But the truth is, this man is not loved by everyone, and 7 million people in the US stood up and said, go fuck yourself. Because go fuck yourself, Cheeto. Go fuck yourself. So when we talk about how upset this man was, he is continuing to throwing temper tantrums on his social echo chamber of Truth Social, which is not truth at all. It's mistruth social. And he continues posting, memes and GIFs and videos of himself potentially being a king of the United States, which is complete and utter insanity. And I just want to say this. I do see how he's being he's using satire and a little bit of comedy. He's a showman, he's a showboater, but at the same time, him being president of the United States and mixing the comedy with the actual implications of what his words mean. I mean, honestly, I think he's using comedy to dictate his next moves when it comes to our government, when it comes to being in the presidency for longer than he needs to be, / our government allows him to be. Our government was founded on not having a king, and being that we are not going to have a king, this is his last term, but I honestly don't think it's going to be his last term. So let's go ahead and see what Donald Trump is doing. But before we get to that, if you haven't already, go ahead, hit that subscribe button because you don't want to miss out on brand new episodes of The Civil Point with me, your host, Ariana Dieva. And we talk about everything from politics to life to just how horrible Trump is running this country into the ground. So let's go ahead, hit that subscribe button, turn on those notification bells because you don't want to miss out on more content. Anyway, let's get into it. We are going to go ahead and get to Truth Social. Trump posted this, which again is more, I feel like this is him coming out and saying, I'm running for 2028. If I'm still alive and biology doesn't catch up with me, my cankles don't crack, my veins don't kill me with blood clots, and the mold on my hand doesn't grow to mold across my entire body, I'm running for 2028. And this is what this video, I think, is. It's his coming out party. So let's go ahead and look at it. 2028, 2032, 2036, 2040, 2044, Trump, 2048, 52. This is scary. Now, Trump is not going to live all this time. We know this. This man is going to die in about 6 months. But what is happening here is that the policies that are being enacted around Trump because of his face, because he's a mascot of this crazy conservative extremist party that looks to serve white nationalist men over any other demographic of people in the United States, what is happening is that Trump will be forever. He will be literally God in these people's eyes because he was able to enact an administration and a regime that dismantled democracy and instituted a new institution of America where people are not free unless you are white, male, and you are Christian. So this is where this becomes not satire, not comedy, because a president should not be joking about this, let alone on a social echo chamber that he created for himself to spread mistruths about being, president forever, because he's not going to be president forever. But the policies that he's implementing under his presidency will be lasting for, for decades to come. Now, another thing that he posted was a repost by J.D. Vance, who reposted this or posted this on Blue Sky. And it's more enamorment with this idea of Trump being a king. And it's like, why are you guys so obsessed with this man being a king? It's weird. So let's go ahead and look at this now. You have Trump putting a crown on his head, a cape, and a sword, even though that man will never fight a day in his life. He evaded the draft. And then you have Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer bowing down to King Trump. This is, again, more ridiculousness when it comes to this administration. I mean, this man is president of the United States and he has time to focus on posting stupid AI videos that are not real, but posting stupid AI videos online showing people bowing to him when truth is everyone hates his guts. And then again, we have the one from the other night where he just completely went berserk, had a complete meltdown on Truth Social in the middle of the night after the No Kings protest. And he had this entire thing. King Trump with a plane, flying a Air Force plane, him with a crown on. This is after the No Kings protest, and he's just dropping shit bombs on Harry Sisson and protesters along in New York City. It's just when does it end? When does it end for Donald Trump? When does he become a little bit more diplomatic? I mean, he's 80 years old practically. He's at the end of his life. He's not going to become more diplomatic. This man will never become more diplomatic. He never was diplomatic, and that's why people voted for him. But the fact that we have our president of the United States sitting here dropping AI videos online while our country is in shambles and divided, where people in November are possibly not going to be getting their WIC checks, not getting their food stamps and EBT cards filled because our government is shut down. We have a president now sitting on a social echo chamber that he provided and created for himself to spread lies. And he sits on here spreading AI videos that just don't mean a damn thing. It's you have a job to do. If you wanted to be a content creator, on your own personal social media platform, you know what you could have done? Not been president, not ran for president. If you wanted to be a comedy creator, then let's revoke your presidency. Why don't you resign and step down and save America the embarrassment that you've already created in the last 10 months for America, and just step the fuck down? Because obviously you're senile. Obviously you're old and dementia ridden. Obviously you're decrepit and breaking down. Your hands are molding, your ankles are fat, and your veins are just literally giving out on you and probably not pumping blood and oxygen up to that brain of yours. So just like, can we just stop the old senile Gramps episode and just get him out? Like, we need a diplomatic president who's actually going to be representative of an entire nation, not just one half, or not even half, not even probably a quarter of people, because every day MAGA is starting to turn on Trump. Every day. So let's get Gramps out of the White House. It's time for him to go to an old person home, a nice, maybe even hospice. You know what? I'm not wishing death, but, you know, if he goes into hospice, I'm not mad. I'm not mad. But let's go ahead and get on with what I wanted to talk about today. And that is the Epstein files, how it connects to Project 2025, as well as how it impacts Trump and how he was able to be elected. So let's go ahead and start talking about this criminal cover-up, and probably which will be the biggest scandal in American history if it's able to be uncovered correctly through our media and through our legal system. So Project 2025 is literally the infrastructure for a new regime in America, and it's here to dismantle democracy. It's here to destroy any sense of freedoms for minority groups of people. That is what Project 2025 is looking to implement when it comes to this presidency of Donald Trump. It's not looking to care about American citizens. It's not looking to take care of people who need health concerns, who meet health concerns. It's not looking to take care of women and children. No, it's looking to suppress women and children. It's looking to suppress the elderly and sick. It's looking to suppress the Black communities and the migrant communities and the Spanish communities and the Asian communities. That is what Project 2025 is looking to do, all while consolidating a centralized government to the presidency that will now, and hopefully not though, last for decades to come. So by giving a total executive power to the president, it's allowing them currently to redefine what our justice system is. It is allowing Project 2025 and founders like Russell Vought and Stephen Miller and supporters, obviously, like Mike Johnson and Kash Patel, as well as Pam Bondi, the obvious loyalists in this administration, to destroy democracy from within the offices that are supposed to uphold democracy. And the biggest culprit is Donald Trump himself. So when we talk about Project 2025 and we align what's going on, I mean, look at the Epstein files. The Epstein files are alleged to have big names, prominent names of high-ranking officials within the United States, such as presidents, that are incriminated in the crimes of Jeffrey Epstein. Those names include names like Bill Clinton, President Obama, as well as Donald Trump, who is the main focus currently right now because he is the sitting president, not dictator, president of the United States. So when you look at the timeline of this all, and you look at the end of the Biden presidency where they were gearing up to possibly release those files while protecting individuals and victims, and then all of a sudden a new administration, the Trump administration, comes in with this whole campaign on transparency around the Epstein files, knowing damn well Trump and high powerful individuals around Trump who are in this swamp are mentioned in them in incriminating fashions and evidence, probably, allegedly. It's just like, the transparency disappeared. He lied to his base about this transparency of it all. So when you look at the timeline of Epstein files, Trump's second administration, the possible release towards the end of Biden's administration, it's giving that the reason that this entity, this regime, this Trump regime is consolidating power isn't to, protect American people or victims. It's to protect high-ranking individuals. It's to protect, secure, and centralize the power of the United States to a president, so that way the president has final word on what is to be done, what is to be enacted, and who is to be punished according to Project 2025's law, which will be the new Constitution of the United States, which is scary to think about because of how extreme Project 2025 is and how quickly in this second administration they were able to fulfill 50%, almost 50%, I believe it's 48% right now, but almost 48% of their agenda in regards to Project 2025. So it's not about protecting the powerful. It's about, if you look at the timeline, it's not about protecting America. It's not about bringing justice to criminals. It's about protecting the powerful criminals. It's about protecting the people who abuse children. It's about protecting the people who abuse women. It's about protecting the people who abuse our government and high-ranking individuals in our government to protect and hide their crimes. It's a shield maneuver, especially when you talk about the government shutdown. And if we talk about the government shutdown, you can't keep lining up these coincidences and saying that coincidences are just coincidences when they point to a proof and a timeline. It's like you're disorienting American society when you're saying all these coincidences match up, but don't believe what you see. Just believe what I tell you. And it's like, do you really think we're that dumb to just believe what the government, who has clearly lied to us over and over and over again? And then MAGA, let's not forget that Trump daddy, your daddy over here, lied to you about the transparency on the Epstein files over and over and over again and called you suckers and losers for thinking he would release them. But it's a shield maneuver because when you look at the timeline of the release of the Epstein files and the final vote, who was going to go to Adelita Gravala, sorry if I mispronounce her name, horrible with names, but a Democrat-elect who was elected to take a seat, who Mike Johnson will not swear in, because if she is sworn in, she will be that final vote to release the entirety of the Epstein files. And if you look at Mike Johnson's loyalty and allegiance to Trump, you can obviously see the writing on the walls. The dots connect. It's all about secrecy. It's all about non-transparency. It's all about protecting high-powered individuals who are incorporated and extremely intertwined into this Epstein scandal. And the holding off and the suppression and the move out of this swear-in by Mike Johnson while shutting down the government, shutting down House activities, is proof of it. He doesn't want this vote to go, because if this vote goes, I don't know, allegedly maybe he's going to be on the list and he's going to have a lot to answer to when it comes to trials in regards to Epstein. So it's all it's a shutdown. It stops the clock on transparency when it comes to the Epstein files, and it also is now giving our government an opportunity to sit here and be like, all right, well now, like Donald Trump said, now the government shut down. I have sole power to dictate what funds and programs go where, what funds and programs exist, what funds and programs I can delete from our American system. So it's, when you look at the timeline, it all adds up to the protection of powerful elites and our president to avoid accountability for their actions and their incriminating evidence that is probably provided in those Epstein files. It's there to avoid accountability and, pause accountability on them. So the long game of it is that if Project 2025 is successful, you have to think about the longevity of this all. Future scandals, alike and different, are going to be even of the magnitude of the Epstein files, and how grand of a scandal this is and how deep it runs from our government to international geopolitical governments, the magnitude will never be reached to uncover the truths because our government is centralized and our president would have the power to then justify what is released and what is not released. Our president becomes a king and essentially becomes the law and order of the United States. And this is not what the United States is founded on. Without separation of powers, without checks and balances, we would have a king. And with a king, we have no accountability because crimes can be covered up. Crimes can be committed. The Epstein files can never be released if Trump decides never to release them, which obviously right now that's his MO because he doesn't want to release those Epstein files because he's in them incriminatingly and deeply. So you just have to think of the end goal because there will be no mechanism for truth, transparency, and accountability when it comes to the centralization of power, when it comes to Project 2025 and the agenda that Project 2025 has. So that's the link between Project 2025, Epstein files, Trump. Trump is the mechanism to avoid accountability for any higher-ups, especially Republicans, who have had access to Epstein and have had contact with Epstein and his victims. It's not about accountability. It's about hiding these people who are criminals. So when you think about Trump's presidency, not the headlines, not the rallies, but the machinery behind it that got him to that place of power, it was a perfect storm. It was a perfect storm of power. It was a perfect storm of frustration. It was a perfect storm of persecution. And what that perfect storm was white men in America. A demographic of people who have never been oppressed in America felt persecuted. White men felt fragile. White men felt no one was fighting for them. Meanwhile, their privilege needs no fight for them because their privilege exists in workspaces, in social spaces, in educational spaces. So white men felt persecuted. They needed a savior. They needed a Trojan horse. They needed a white horse. And that white horse was Donald Trump. Donald Trump, that first term, I do believe that Donald Trump in that first term was there to make America great. The second term, to an extent, I should say. I think in his first term, he was here to make America great to an extent. I don't think he had the capacity that he currently has for the betrayal of the United States as if he were in his first presidency. The second presidency is about retribution. It's about political vengeance. It's about his ego being hurt that he lost to Joe Biden. And maybe if he didn't lose to Joe Biden, we wouldn't have this insane rhetoric, this insane presidency that is attacking its own citizens. Maybe if he had 2 consecutive terms, it would have been better. He served 2 and then got out. Maybe this retribution wouldn't have happened because his 2-term limit would have expired. But when we talk about it, it's not about the headlines. You have to talk about how this perfect storm created. And it was white men, white Christian men feeling persecuted. It was white Christian men feeling ostracized from society. Trump was that Trojan horse. Project 2025 catapulted their wants, their agendas for white men being the centerpiece and closest thing to God again. And then you had the Epstein files, which created so much blackmail on Trump. And right now, with all of these factors working together, it has created a mechanism for American society and democracy to fall because of blackmail, because of perceived faulty persecution, and a man who has no moral compass or soul or dignity to stand up for America. Instead, Condon continuously sells out Americans' freedoms for his own freedom from the crimes he committed over the last 50 years, with especially the Epstein files. So when we talk about his current administration, though, we also have to talk about how it isn't serving the American people. It's about punishing his enemies. It's about consolidating power. It's about protecting his circle. And right now he's emboldened to the creators of Project 2025 because they're the ones who got him into office. So his thank you to them is making sure that their Project 2025 becomes the new Constitution of the United States. That after he dies, his legacy will be that he was the God that enacted this new America, this founding fathers of America that is brand new, that centralizes white Christian nationalism in America instead of the melting pot that we have been taught, the melting pot that we have learned ever since grade school that America was. It's a hostile takeover and a coup of American democracy and American culture to whitewash it, erase away any sort of white destruction of communities, and to uphold that white men are the closest thing to God, which is, absurd. But in these people's minds, their agenda is that they are God's chosen. And as God's chosen, they need to rule this country because they are the closest thing to God. So when you look at his administration and the fact that he's punishing enemies, consolidating power, protecting those in his circle, his swamp, you have to look at the public indictments of Tisha James and James Comey. Those are complete and utter power moves to strike fear into his political enemies that if you come for me, I may be here now and I have the ability now to persecute you for personally coming for me, even though legally he was found guilty of these crimes. It's not personal when everything that is found and uncovered in discovery and evidence and trial leads to conviction. It's not personal. It's called legal accountability. It's called legal conviction. And that's why you, Trump, were sentenced and found accounted for 34 counts of felonies, because you are a 34 count felon, Trump. Nothing personal. It's how you live your life. But look at as well the quiet reconstructing of the Department of Justice and how Pam Bondi has just incorporated herself with Donald Trump. The Department of Justice is supposed to be a separate branch of government. There should not be any intertwine when it comes to the Department of Justice and presidency, because then that, again, consolidates the power. And right now we're seeing a mix of these two agencies when it comes to our executive branch and the presidency, as well as an independent agency in the Department of Justice that is serving Donald Trump at Donald Trump's behest to go after his political enemies. And Donald Trump is not smart enough to know what to do. He has his cronies. He has his loyalists to say, okay, how do I go after this person? How do I make sure that we're doing this somewhat legally, but quickly, so that way I can get and enact my revenge? So obviously he's not the smart mastermind behind it all. He has other people working for him, his cronies, but the reconstruction of the Department of Justice, the public indictments, the pattern of loyalists like Kash Patel and Russell Vought and Stephen Miller, Mike Johnson, they are all placed strategically to make sure that Trump's agenda of political retribution is intact. So that way, after he dies, he now has set a stage for Project 2025 to become the new Constitution of the United States, where now we can have a dictator in place, where no one can challenge this new Constitution and this new America. That's his thank you for saving me from the Epstein files. That's his thank you for making me rich while grifting while being president. That's his thank you for, being placed in the presidency for the last few years of his life and having some sort of gold emblem and gold star for his presidency, even though it's a shit show. That's his thank you. Thank you for putting me into office. Thank you for making me richer. And in return, I will give you, after I die, America and America's freedom. So, the real mission is really to rewrite the structure of American power when it comes to this presidency, this second term. It's not about the American people. It's not about creating a system of justness and fairness. It's not about creating a system about not centralizing our government. It's about making sure that our government is centralized so that way in the future decades, it's very hard to dissent from a dictator who replaces Trump. So these are all, you have to also remember that these are all people that support slavery. These are all people that support child marriage. These are all people, like I'm talking specifically about Republicans, the people that support Project 2025, the people that uphold these ideologies of American Christian nationalism. These are people who support slavery, support child marriage, support conversion therapy with grape correction methods, who support women not having rights, who support women not having public access to public areas, who support no access to health care, who support no access to abortion. These are people who are sick individuals who think that they have complete autonomy over other people's bodies and where they can go. These are the people that are running our government currently, and these are the people that are trying to enact a new constitution that allows them to legally prosecute and potentially even go the distance to murder, like the Salem witch trials, for anyone who dissents against this new constitution, Project 2025. And it's not just about the corruption anymore. It's about an architecture to make sure that our government is solid for this new institution of America that Project 2025 founders and writers thought to be the best way to save America. Because apparently us black folk have gone a little bit too far with our education. Spanish people have gone a little bit too far with being creative and being entrepreneurs. Asian people have gotten a little bit too smart. All the minorities, women, have gotten a little bit too ballsy and a little bit too loud and boisterous. All these minorities now have to be put in check. And Project 2025 and the white Christian nationalist men are going to do it. We have extended the leash a little too far. And now what they want to do is snap it back. That is what's happening. So when we look at Trump's presidency as well, we have to also look at what he's really done. Like, Trump's presidency has not helped American people. And we can guarantee that. We can look at it through the numbers. We can look at it through his current presidency being that he's claiming that he raised $17 trillion in tariff revenue. But you have to understand that that's $17 trillion raised for the Treasury, not for American and domestic programs that help Americans. It's for the Treasury to dispense, and that Treasury mostly will dispense it to the new Department of Defense instead of now named Department of War. So that $17 trillion was not for American people. It was most likely being extorted out through Trump. Because our government is currently shut down, and $17 trillion, even like $3 trillion of that would help our government not be shut down. But Donald Trump does not care about our government shutdown. He wants to be able to rip apart and delete and just destroy programs that help American people, like EBT, like WIC, all of those fundamental programs that feed women and children. Donald Trump is up and, his hand is up and voted for. Let's destroy it. So when we talk about his economic policies. They're not helping they're not helping America. They're instead funding his pockets. When we talk about the militarization of domestic power, the use of federal agents in American streets, the ICE and Border Patrol agents, adopting highly aggressive tactics to go into cities and hurt American citizens, not just go after undocumented immigrants, but actually hurt American, Black, brown citizens. That is called a destruction of democracy, a destruction of distrust in our federal government. That is what is happening. So policies, you also have to think about that when we talk about Trump's presidency and how it's not about the people, when we are now being put on a national watch list, a humanitarian national watch list, that should be a concern to everyone. That our freedoms are being questioned, our freedoms are being taken away or attempted to be taken away, and the amount of injustice against our civil rights are infringing so much to the point that we are being put on, we as America are being put on a national watch list for humanitarian concern. That should concern you. America has never been put on a humanitarian watch list because of civil liberties being infringed upon. But now that should be your red herring. That's your red flag. We're put on a humanitarian watch list, national watch list. So when we also talk about his presidency and how it doesn't align with helping Americans, he's aligning with dictators. He's aligning with he's publicly praised leaders such as Vladimir Putin and Kim Jong-un. So all of these long-standing alliances with our United Nations and our allies are being dismantled and tarnished because one man wants to cuddle up to dictators who commit war crimes like Benjamin Netanyahu, instead of actually holding accountable these dictators who commit war crimes and standing with our allies. Instead, he's breaking the Paris Climate Accord. He's breaking the Iran deal. He's breaking all of these deals that brings peace to America, and instead putting the biggest target on America's back. And when the target is on America's back, you know who's going to pay the price? American citizens. Just like Benjamin Netanyahu in Israel, when Israel started getting attacked by Iran, guess where Benjamin Netanyahu went? He went and flew out of Israel while his own country was being attacked. And that is the same exact thing Donald Trump would do. We have a Qatari airbase being built on U.S. soil. I can guarantee you Donald Trump has evaded a draft once. He will never serve a war in his life. And I can guarantee you if there was a war on U.S. soil, he would do the same thing as his friend Benny, get in a private jet and fly the F out of here, because he does not care about American citizens. So when it comes to all of this, it becomes overwhelming that he's not for America. Trump is not for America. It's overwhelmingly obvious that Trump is not for America. And these points that I'm pointing out make it very clear, from the economic depression of this country, from the civil infringement of this country, from the potential wars and targets that American citizens will pay the price of. Our brothers and sisters, mothers, fathers, grandparents will pay the price of. It's all leading up to that this man does not care about American citizens. He cares about his political retribution. He cares about lining his pockets as much as he can through his political ties of geopolitical nature. And he cares about grifting so much that he lines his pockets with none other than con money. That is who this president is. He's not about making America great again. When's the last time he said make America great again, to be honest, if you really think about it? This presidency is about political retribution and grifting and lining his own pockets to become richer, richer, and richer. And maybe he'll go to heaven. But he, and as do I, know that man is not going to heaven. He said it himself, and he probably believes it. He's like, I've done some fucked up shit in my life. Me being Trump, I'm not going to heaven. I'm going to hell. I'm going to have Satan's baby from my neck pussy. That's what Trump is thinking in his mind. But when we talk another thing, I mean, he literally suppresses dissent. He's trying to suppress free speech. When you talk about him going on to Truth Social, talking about that he's a king, posting AI videos about him being a king, posting AI videos of him throwing shit bombs on protesters on No Kings protest day. It all aligns with this egotistical, maniacal complex that he is greater than American law. He is greater than the presidency. And what's greater than a presidency in anyone's eyes who wants to be more than a president? It would be being a king or a dictator. So when we talk about suppressing the free speech, he's routinely called journalists enemies of the people. He's enacted broad crackdowns on protests, labeling protesters enemies. Okay? Him, as well as his constituents, his swamp posse, has labeled protesters as terrorists. Let me repeat that again. Labeled protesters as terrorists. Protesters as terrorists. We're supposed to have a First Amendment right. Let me remind you of that. He's also used the power to intimidate private platforms and news outlets who criticized him. So he's over here saying that you cannot speak because your voice dissents from the public opinion of how you're supposed to think. He's tried to silence through Jimmy Kimmel. He's tried to silence through the FTC. He's made examples of Tish James and James Comey with indictments saying, challenge me and I will put you in court. I will drain you through malicious prosecution. He said that he will cut Democrat-funded programs that help actual American citizens because he does not care about American citizens. He cares that that Democrats did not vote for him, and he's trying to punish Democrats who did not vote for him. So altogether, you can obviously see with all these points that Trump's presidency was less about policy and was definitely more about a performative dominance of his presidency in the first 10 months. He's done nothing to provide equity for American citizens. He's done nothing to provide economic growth for American citizens. He's done nothing to protect American citizens. He's done nothing to enact any sort of policies that protect American citizens on U.S. soil, let alone internationally. He is coddled up to dictators. He is coddled up to pedos. He has protected pedos. His lack of transparency is broadly entertained through the Republican Constituents Party, the Republican Party that supports child marriage, the Republican Party that supports white nationalism, the Republican Party that supports racism and misogyny, the Republican Party that supports, nothing but gender affirming care to be removed from our states, to be removed from access from not just children, but adult human beings. This man doesn't care about any Americans. This man cares about one demographic of Americans, and that one demographic of Americans is white Christian nationalist men, because that is who this country is being set up to live for. That is who this country is being set up to be accustomed for, not minorities, but white Christian nationalist men. So with all that being said, this President Trump, he is un-American to his core. He is rotten to his core. And that's why his veins are tying up on him. That's why his hands are molding on him. That's why it is being very desperately clear and being made very clear that this man is un-American. un-American. And isn't it crazy to have a president who's just un-American with all of everything I laid out for you? Let's really think about it. We should impeach this man, not only impeach this man, but remove him and his entire cabinet team of swamp individuals from the White House and from their positions of power. Because if they are not removed from power, this architecture of Project 2025 is not going to last for days. It's going to last for decades. And we will be in a militarized state where we cannot fight back or dissent from what is being enacted in the name of Donald Trump. If you guys haven't already, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. You don't want to miss out on brand new episodes of the Civil Point Podcast with me, your host, Ariana Dieva. Every night I'm practically live, and we just talk about everything that's going on in our country, the shit show that it's becoming, and how we can fight back, and how we can talk and bring awareness to what's going on when it comes to the destruction of democracy in America currently. So go ahead, hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, and I will be back with another episode of the Civil Point. I am out, and enjoy the rest of your night. Mwah.